you got to stay here. And we've talked about this within our personal lives of, if you're wanting to make changes to elevate yourself and to grow and evolve, recognizing that some people aren't meant to do that, and this isn't their lifetime to do that. We're not going to sway those people. We're not going to change them. So then it becomes, what do we allow? Are we going to continue to put energy into getting messages out to people that aren't ready to receive them? Or do you just say, sorry, love and light to you, but fucking moving on, I'm going this way. And if you want to stay here,
right. And I get that some people need religion, and especially it's terrifying to me that there are people in the world who commit, and have been for centuries, that commit acts of violence, acts of terrorism because of religion, because of something that's written in a book 2,000 years ago by some dude. And it's even harmful today, and that's where I won't stop talking about it. I have a lot of friends who are religious. My mom is super Catholic, and that's fine. And I get it, and I understand why people feel that way, but at the same time, so much of religion is super harmful to women.
Like, if your mom doesn't watch this, or my Mormon friends.
Well, I know. My mom loves me, though. She's like the best kind of Christian, because she tried her very best with us. And she still prays for us, and that's okay. But, she also loves us and wanted us to grow up to spread our own wings and have our own lives.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of got me with the meek and quiet, too. That women, God says women are meant to be weak and quiet, because
the Bible says that a lot, though.
I understand
we
that.
went to, Catholic church together, and
we did.
We got confirmed together.
Yeah, I grew up in a very strict Catholic home.
Hers more so than mine in terms of strict.
Still very strict Catholics, and but I also, my mother was very different than Michelle's mother, and my mom's a narcissist. She is who she is. I love her, but I was the scapegoat, and it was very much a disciplinary thought process of children should be seen and not heard.
Sorry, the cat's moving. I'm not laughing at you.
And it did a lot of damage to me, this idea of being quiet. And I then chose men who wanted me to be quiet. And till I find myself in this place in my 40s where I just have so much to fucking say because I've been told to be fucking quiet.
Right.
And I'm not really a quiet person. I'm kind of a walking contradiction in that, yes, I am very quiet. Both these women know, they both lived with me. I'm very introverted, but when it's conversations like this that are deep and meaningful, and when it comes to helping people,
they're important, though. They're so important.
There are things I do very well that are very much extroverted, and they're very much talking. Even my teaching career, I talk all day with the kids, and I was very good at it. So I think meek and quiet are words, again, labels that, especially when we tell little girls to be meek and quiet, it suggests being passive. It suggests letting people walk all over you. And that's why we have so many young women or feminine energy. I not typically, I won't be a person who refers to gender, but when we're talking about feminine energies, to tell someone who is a feminine energy to be meek and quiet is telling them to, it's a message of letting people walk all over you.
Right. And I think it's awful to anybody to encourage women to not go to college, to not take jobs and not be able to support themselves. And I think that it's been a movement in this country since World War II, where women started making money and realized, hey, I don't have to stay with this asshole who hits me. I don't have to stay with this asshole who is emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, because what happens in these situations where women are taught and trained that their only job is to be at home with their children, and I think that it's a noble and good thing to want to stay home with your kids and raise them and not, take them to daycare if you don't have to. I don't have an issue if that's the choice. But if that's your only option, and the person that you're married to, lied before you got married, was a, totally different person, is a narcissist, was able to knock you up before you figured it out and knew any better. If you have got this person, if you're relying on him for all of your financial and emotional support, and you have absolutely no tools to support yourself, what happens? You get trapped in this horrible, abusive situation. And I don't care. Abuse is not always somebody, hitting you, punching you.
Oh, no.
There's financial abuse. There's emotional abuse. There's spiritual abuse.
Psychological abuse.
Exactly. All of these different
Emotional
ways.
abuse.
And so I think we all need to encourage our daughters to have a way to support themselves and have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, honestly, when you say encourage girls to go to school, I don't think we should encourage them to do anything but what makes their heart happy.
Right.
Like, I think we live in a day and age with the technology era where things have changed a lot, and those college degrees don't necessarily equate to financial success or stability.
Of course
and
not.
that's something that, we're having to, or going to have to relook at in what are our beliefs about safety and security and money. We're going to see changes within our money system coming, and we have to look at, we see kids right now, kids in high school, they're not even ready to think about college, and they're making more money than adults off their YouTube videos.
It's true. Like, opening toys and playing video games.
Here's the thing, though, and as silly as it fucking sounds, what are they doing? They're making videos about things that they love.
And
Something that makes them happy, and they just throw it out there to the world, right?
and the kids eat that up. My daughter is glued to those opening up toy videos.
Oh,
and
Jackson and the gaming
crazy.
videos, and actually both my boys, the 16-year-old and the 5-year-old are my boys, and they both, like, they're totally into gaming, anything gaming on YouTube, and I've told both of them, I'm like, you guys should do your own videos because people would love you.
I wish that all of adults could be just more like children. And it has always hurt my heart when I think about the day that will come when my child's joy is stolen.
I don't think that's going to come, though. I think it's up to you as a parent
To keep that.
But
life, I can't prevent life from happening.
no, you can't. But we can teach through self-love
And give her
and
tools.
self-care how to, yes, shit happens to all of us. And it's going to, but there's a way we can allow the emotions to come to us, accept and acknowledge them, and let them flow, and find that joy. And but a lot of it comes down to, and it's why I'm doing this channel and the blog, is a lot of it comes down to is, what are we doing as the mothers because they're watching us?
Right.
Where's our joy?
What are we doing as
Because
the women in the lives of children?
If
and
our
boys and
children
girls?
are, if our children, and I'm not just talking about our girls, this is really important for our boys as well.
Or children who
because-
don't identify as you.
As much shit that has been done to the feminines in the patriarchy, it's been done to the masculines as well. We all
for
have
sure.
healing to do. And there are things that have happened to them, programs within them, that it makes me not kind of a feminist in a way, but thinking of myself more as a humanist, because it's both sides. It's been done to both of us, manipulation and programming, and it's part of that divide and conquer strategy that has worked throughout history to make us think we're so different. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Little girls are sugar and spice, and little boys don't cry.
Part of the man-child epidemic is this invalidation of feelings for our little boys. And I know this as a mother, and I know this as a teacher.
You have to be tough,
and
be a little man, don't cry, don't have your feelings. Well, that's bullshit. They need to have their feelings.
And
it's okay to express them in a healthy way, because if you don't learn how to express your feelings as a child in a healthy way, you end up expressing them in really, really bad ways as an adult. Like, you don't have coping tools. You don't have, you don't know that it's okay to just, like, go home and cry or punch a pillow and do something non-damaging. But boys are taught to hold it all in, and we have seen in our society time and time again, boys who hold it all in, and even women who hold it all in.
absolutely.
I mean, anybody who's not able to express their emotions and cope with their emotions, it leads to violence. It leads to suicide. It leads to
Addiction.
self-harm. Addiction is huge. Opiates, especially, like, we've got an opiate addiction. People get hooked on meth. It's because they have feelings, and these drugs take away their feelings.
And it's not just addiction to drugs or alcohol. It can be addiction to exercise, to food, to work.
Oh, yeah.
Probably one of the most common addictions that I see in people. And society doesn't even really realize it. It's addiction to work. I got to work so hard because I've got to make so much money because I've got to have this and have this and have this, that I'm so fucking tired at the end of the day. I don't smile. I'm miserable. So I just keep myself busy with work. That's an addiction.
Right.
It's just as much as an addiction as me teaching all day and then going home and drinking wine, to deal with my shit.
Or with me, like, I'm an emotional eater. That's kind of my addiction. I get in a mood and I'm like, give me some sugar.
Right. So we all find this, and it's in lots of different ways, and we're very much Western medicine, and we'll talk about that too.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that.
This idea of BandAids, right? And everything is just a fucking Band-Aid. We don't get down to the deeper issues. And it goes back to how we even started today of talking about things with authenticity and truth and depth, and not keeping things on the surface of, meek and quiet. What does that do to a little person? I don't care if it's a boy or a girl. If you have that expectation on your child, what message are you really giving them?
Right. And I think children have the full range of emotions. Like, they get frustrated, they get angry, they're confused, they get scared, they have all of those things. But if you don't allow them to have those emotions, it's just a recipe for a lifetime of being screwed up in the head. You know what I mean? It's so important when you're young.
We also have kids from our oldest, my oldest, from 20 to being born now, which my children fall into, and Olivia, Christina's daughter, that they're awake. Like, they're kids born after 2013. The majority of them are being born wide awake. And the ones before, with our children, my older children and Liv's son, is they were born at a higher level of consciousness, more aware than we were at their ages. And we recognize it and we see it within them. And that's one thing that really inspires me and I'm passionate about is kids. And you guys, it's just a thing. But one of the things I realized is, yes, even your kid.
For me, especially your kid. I'm obsessed with her.
But one of the reasons for me in doing this, because I really don't like adults, is the only way I can help kids is by somehow hoping to inspire and empower adults, because they're watching us.
Yeah.
They learn it from us. And being a kid who I've always been psychic. Empaths are born, they're not made, and so I grew up in a family where those things were not acceptable. And it caused a lot of trauma, I guess, or pain, a lot that now I've had to deal with as an adult, that if I had, and things are what they are, but if I'm a parent and I see my wide awake child with psychic abilities that are very clear, I know that this is one of the things we have to do, is start working on ourselves for our children. Because the thing Christina brought up is her daughter losing her joy. If we are modeling joy and we are encouraging them and keeping their spirit and their soul alive, and teaching these things of non-separation, of non-duality, of spirituality versus religion, and these kinds of things, then it doesn't matter what the low vibing fucks of the world want to do, because
the low vibing fucks of the universe, ladies and gentlemen. These are the people we work against. I like it.
Do you know what I mean? It won't matter what they do, because they're so centered in self, and they have their tribe around them, that they can't be touched.
You're going to say centered in self is different than self-centered, right?
We're going to have a long talk about selfishness, self-centered, and selflessness.
I don't want to.
We are. That's been a lot of channeling and guidance that has been coming through for the book.
No, I joke like I'm a selfish person, and all of it, and I am a little bit, but at the same time, it's just that I've always been really strong in that. I care about myself, and I care about, being healthy and being mentally, and I care about saying no and not overextending myself. And that's one thing. I have chronic illnesses, I think, 6 to date. And And a big part of that, I realized, like, part of my gift by the universe making me a little bit selfish when I was younger, is that now I need that skill. I need that skill to stand up and say, no, if I'm going to remain healthy, I can't work 70 hours a week. If I'm going to remain healthy, I can't sit in this chair for 6 hours. You know, it's just, it is a matter of things where I've got to pick and choose what I do, because I do have, you know, chronic illnesses, chronic pain issues, and I'm always working towards getting better and feeling better, and that's great. You know, I'm trying to, positive self-talk is a big part about that. Meditation is a big part of that. Exercise, like, there's a lot of different parts to it, but there's another big part of, like, a lot of times what I have to do is say no. And I wasn't able to do that as much when it was affecting my emotional health as I was when I started getting sick, and now it affects my physical health. So I was, I think, able to do it more than a lot of women are when it was just affecting my emotional health. But now that it's like my actual physical health and my body, when I have to say no, I have to say no. And I'm just grateful that I've had that skill since I was a child. And, you know, my siblings would ask my dad for a quarter so they could get a candy bar, and I wanted a 20 so I could get that Barbie. That's just how I was. Because it just, you know, there's some things that are nature versus nurture. And so I was given this skill by the universe. I was given this gift
of saying no,
of being, you know, of being selfish about that, you know. And so, and I think as long as I use it in a healthy way, it's not necessarily a bad thing. And I need to teach it to other people who feel like they don't have. I talk to women and they're like, oh, you know, I want to exercise, but I don't have the time. I'm like, you need 20 minutes to go for a walk.
Yeah, except I remember you telling me the same thing about when I started suggesting meditation. I know it'd be good for me, but I'm so busy right now. And but that's what we all do. And it goes back to
we're trained to say
programming that, right? Of if we stay busy, then we really don't have to face our shit. We don't have to own our shit. And that's a big part of what we see and why we don't like people is because we're not programmed to hold ourselves accountable. It's much easier to be a victim and blame other people. And one of my favorite books ever, The 4 Agreements.
I love that too.
Favorite book.
Yep, it's that's what I put as my favorite.
My ultimate favorite is The Alchemist, but The 4 Agreements is right up there. And again, both spiritual books, you know, but one of the 4 agreements is don't take things personally. And that's the thing.
So huge.
What people say and do, their actions are about them. They're not about you. And if we can start teaching that, learning it, modeling it, living it, and not just talking the talk, but walking the walk.
That book changed my life because of that one agreement. Don't take things personally. And there was a sentence in there that says, people always try their best, and it's the best that they know how. It's not your best. It's not what you think should be best. It's the best they know how. And reading that, in that one sentence, I was able to forgive my father for everything that I resented him and my childhood for, because I realized that it wasn't about me. It was about him and him doing his best. And his best was shitty as fuck. But it was his best that he knew how, that he was given those skills to deal with and could deal with.
Right.
And for that, I was able to forgive him. And so much stuff was lifted from me.
Yeah.
And I was able to deal with that in my childhood. And that, I think, eliminated a lot of deep down anger for me.
It was important for me, and I think it had a lot to do with being an empath. As I started to understand energy, and then I read Don't Take Things Personally, and I'm reading about it, and I'm really reflecting the realization that, you know, empaths are sponges for people's shit. There is a documented history of empaths and narcissists and how we just are these little sponges for people to throw shit at. And when you don't understand that, and you don't know you're an empath or any of those things, and you're in the unknown, you do take it personally because people are directing it at you, and you don't have that understanding that it's actually them and their own shit. They just rather put it onto you. And that's where it was so profound to me of, oh, wait. So, you know, when my mother says this kind of thing to me, it's not really about me.
It's not.
I don't have to feel sad, and I don't have to feel guilty because I didn't do anything, and it's not about me.
And something as simple as somebody saying, I don't like your hair.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with you.
Absolutely.
And that
Oh,
was
completely.
very life-changing for me in
Yep.
reading in that book.
And I think, you know, one thing with you guys both being empaths and absorbing so much energy from other people, I know that I've always been an empath as well, but for some reason, and I'm trying to figure out why, as a child, I know it's been since I was a child, I've learned to turn it off to protect myself when I don't want somebody else's energy. So I, as an adult, sometimes I have to try to turn it on when I want to understand somebody better. And so sometimes when I'm purposefully, I click it in my brain, I'm like, okay, absorb.
I had to step out.
Okay.
Mwah.
I think we actually need to
Yeah,
get...
we're probably a little longer.
Yeah,
anyway,
do you
so
say bye?
I'm gonna get a phone
You're good.
call in 1
Okay.
minute.
You're good.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're going to sign off.
All right, so hopefully you liked our little coffee chat, table talk.
Subscribe down below. Hit the
Subscribe,
button.
like, comment. If there's anything you want us to talk about or get on, if you have any perspectives to share on anything we talked about today or what you'd like to see in the future, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Just try to do your best to keep it positive with the understanding that even if it's not, we don't give a fuck.
Right.
Okay? We love you all. Lots of love and light being sent to you.
We just... We're ridiculous. I talk about psychic
30 years.
bullshit.